You can see the chaos.
We can see the top of the building from here. Oh, yeah. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. There it goes. There it goes. Oh.
When it comes down, we're out.
All right. We do need to put it down now. I think we need to put it down now. Here we go.
America, offer a prayer. According to American Airlines is confirming that its Flight 11 from Boston to Los Angeles was hijacked today, and that its plane was the first one involved in this attack on the World Trade Center. Brian Wilson is on the phone with us now from the Washington area. Brian, what's the latest?
Well, I wanted to tell you, John, that I'm in front of the Capitol, and a moment ago, police officers ran up to us and ordered us off of the grounds and told us, and I quote, there is a plane that has been hijacked. It is 20 minutes south of Washington. This was about 10 minutes ago, and is headed this way. They are taking ultimate precautions. Now, as you know, in these chaotic situations, sometimes information gets twisted. But police officers here are saying that they believe there is a hijacked plane now headed toward Washington. And that's all the information I can give you at this moment.
All right, Brian, we had a report from you earlier that military aircraft are circling the Capitol. Is that still the case?
They have not seen them in the last few minutes, but there were military jets above the Capitol a few moments ago. Of course, you know, John, this has been the nightmare scenario for security experts in Washington, that many of the buildings in Washington, very visible from the air, are very vulnerable. In fact, the flight path to National Airport runs literally 6 blocks from the White House. So this has always been a big concern. But again, to repeat the information that I have here, Capitol Police have completely evacuated the grounds of the Capitol, and they have told us, quote, there is a plane that's been hijacked. It is south of Washington, headed this way. Now, the reliability of the information I cannot give you, but that's what police have told us.
All right, Brian Wilson, thank you, and let us know if you come up with any new information. It is hard to describe, folks. The pictures show what has happened in Lower Manhattan, but we don't have a handle yet on the devastation. I remind you again that there are perhaps 50,000 people who work in the World Trade Centers, the 2 towers, and those towers are virtually gone now after this apparent terrorist strike earlier this morning. How many of those 50,000 people they were able to get out, we don't yet know.
That is the heart of not just the financial district, but many national, international corporations. I mean, look at that smoke, the dust, that plume that has just engulfed blocks and blocks of Lower Manhattan. You have the Wall Street Journal down there, many, many corporations and offices. So I think we must say a prayer, and our heart certainly goes out to everyone who is there right at this moment, as well as the New York City Emergency Command Center is at the foot of the World Trade Center. I think it is, John, important for us to take a moment to say a prayer, remember these people, and hope that God gives us grace.
And take a look at the poignant picture you see there. The Statue of Liberty, folks, is still standing, and I think that's important to remember at a time like this. The World Trade Center has collapsed, and the casualty figure we cannot even begin to guess at this point. Our David Lee Miller is with us, we're glad to know, from the City Hall area. David Lee, what can you tell us?
John, just seconds ago there was a huge explosion, and it appears right now the second World Trade Tower has just collapsed. The debris and the smoke is so thick where I am that, again, you cannot see the World Trade Center, even though we're just a few blocks away. But it appears the entire building has collapsed. People are literally running through the streets. They are running from Center Street in Lower Manhattan, trying to get away from the smoke, which is absolutely choking. It is difficult to breathe. There are people in front of me wearing gas masks. The cell phone service is virtually non-existent. There are lines of people to use the few payphones that are available, and people are literally hysterical in the streets, worried worried about loved ones who were in these two buildings. Moments before the building collapsed, I was outside, and after the first collapse, the authorities began to move people away from the perimeter. They feared that the second building would collapse. They warned people of that, and they began to push people away, including reporters, including myself. And right now, there's nothing here but shock on the streets of Lower Manhattan. John?
All right, David Lee, stay safe. We are looking now at pictures, this of the second of the two World Trade Center towers collapsing after that awful, awful event. Let's just recap what's happened so far today. Two planes, one of them at least apparently hijacked an American Airlines plane, slammed into the side of the World Trade Center a little before 9 a.m. Then, as we watch now this picture, a second plane slammed into the second tower of the World Trade Center. That tower collapsed first. It burned for a while and then collapsed. And you can see these pictures as that tower collapses. Not long ago, the second of the two towers collapsed. Now again, there are perhaps 50,000 people who work in these buildings on any given day. Not all of them would have been at work yet, but clearly a great and monumental loss of life. Also in Washington, the Pentagon has been under attack. At least one plane slammed into the Pentagon. David Schuster is an eyewitness to that and is joining us now. David?
John, the Pentagon is now being evacuated. You may be able to hear some of the sirens going off in the Pentagon. There's smoke billowing down the hallway. Eyewitnesses describe a U.S. Air 737 plane on what seemed to be headed towards National Airport at approximately 9:40 this morning when it then crashed into the south end of the Pentagon. The eyewitnesses describe a huge ball of fire, the plane apparently hitting by the helipad, which is near Highway 110 and Highway 395, the main arteries into the city. There have been unconfirmed reports of second explosions here at the Pentagon. We have not confirmed that, but again, the counterintelligence sources confirming that it was a commercial aircraft apparently hijacked that crashed into the Pentagon. The building has been evacuated. There are reports of safety precautions being taken at the Central Intelligence Agency, at the National Security Agency. Capitol Hill has been evacuated. The White House has been evacuated. But here at the Pentagon, I was actually in a taxi cab on Highway 110 when suddenly smoke started billowing out of the Pentagon. Very quickly, you heard ambulances and fire trucks headed that direction. Chris Wright, our producer at the Pentagon, who was on the northern side of the Pentagon, says he could not hear the explosion or feel any aftershocks or anything. Obviously, the Pentagon, a very large building meant to withstand terrorist attacks or any sort of other attack. But again, eyewitnesses describing a U.S. Air 737 crashing into the Pentagon at approximately 9:40 this morning. The Pentagon, except for some personnel, the Pentagon being evacuated, and we can actually smell some of the smoke now in the hallways here on the north side. John.
David Schuster in Washington, thank you. Britt Hume is with us once again, our managing editor in Washington. Britt, chaos and pandemonium, but how do we measure the response here?
Well, John, one thing worth noting is that you're going to hear all kinds of further warnings at a time like this, and precautions being taken. We've just learned, for example, that police have been sent to Union Station. A bomb squad has been sent to Union Station, which, as you know, John, is located just a couple of blocks from the Capitol. In fact, it's just adjacent to our Fox News bureau here in Washington. One senses that there will be many squads and many alerts and many more than there will be things found, but nobody's taken any chances in this town at this hour after the astonishing events that have unfolded so far here today. And, of course, you've been seeing the pictures and hearing the reports from down there at the Pentagon. Who would have imagined such a thing? It appears that the damage to the Pentagon, as bad as it was, we don't have any sense of whether there was loss of life or how extensive it was. That is an attack that looks like it could have been very much worse indeed had the airplane hit in a more central area of that building. So we're now watching, of course, the Capitol building with considerable urgency. It's right out the window of our bureau here.